Hey guys, I know everybody's seen the Hollywood TV shows and the Hollywood movies that show the hostage type situation, where the guy grabs the hostage, got a gun to his head, or even floating the gun sometimes down in front of the person, and what they're doing is they're sitting here acting like the police officers are, that they can't make a shot, even though they might be 7 yards from the guy, got a gun aimed right at them or not. Typically you're a hostage, you see the situation on TV anyway, where they either have the gun at the person's head, or they may just have their arm around them like this and they're holding the gun in front, or they may even have the gun aimed at the person that has the gun trained on them at that point. Either way, it's a hostage type situation, and most of us sit back and we look at that and we wonder, can that shot be taken? Is that a shot that you should take? Should you not take it? What we did is we contacted a neurosurgeon and we asked him, can that shot be taken, or will the human body's reflexes take over at that point and pull that trigger if that person has that trigger almost engaged? We found out some things that were kind of interesting, but obviously to doctors it won't be. A neurosurgeon told us that if you hit a person in the brainstem, that's it, it's over with. The body's natural reflex is not to pull a trigger. To pull a trigger, it's a mental process where you're telling your finger, pull that trigger at this point. It's not like your whole body clenches up, including your trigger finger, so that if a person had their finger on that trigger and you made that shot that was a dead man shot, so to speak, that person is not going to naturally or instinctively pull that trigger, because again, it is a conscious thought that you're doing to pull that trigger. However, if a person has that trigger nearly engaged and you just shoot them, say, even in a vital organ, so to speak, like in their heart or something like that, even though that heart might have a hole in it, it is still pumping X amount of blood until the heart is empty. Same goes for lungs and other vital organs like that. So just shooting a person a vital organ is not going to keep them from shooting that hostage or shooting you in return. Now, obviously, quite a few headshots will most likely take that person out at that point. Obviously, if a person has a gun trained on somebody's head, their temple, you're probably not going to take that shot. Most police officers, military guys, or even civilians, for instance, most likely won't take that shot. We're not telling you what you should or shouldn't take. I wouldn't take that shot if it were me. Now, if the person is sitting here with the gun trained on you, or if they're bouncing around, moving around, or if they just have the gun in front of them and their arm around the person, chances are that's a shot you could probably take. This is a hostage type target. We're going to take some shots at this just to see how easy or how hard this shot is to make. We want to see how and if it can be done. Now again, we're not suggesting anybody ever take this shot, whether you're law enforcement, military, you guys have the training, we don't. We're simply showing the average guy on the street what it's like in this type of hostage type scenario, because we all see it on TV, and I think most of us has wondered, man, I would have taken that shot. Okay, our goal here is to hit that red plate for whatever it's worth. Again, that's supposed to simulate our hostage taker. The last thing we want to shoot is the white, and again, we're at 7 yards here. Okay, if I'm in a position and both of us have our guns either trained on each other, or I have a gun on the guy's head and he's got his gun either near or in front of the hostage, then I would feel comfortable taking the shot. Okay, at that point, it seems like a relatively easy shot, right? Let's try it at 15 yards. Okay, much harder shot for a guy like me, but let's see again, if we both have our guns trained on each other, or if he has his down in front of him or something like that, and I'm looking at the guy, I'm going to squeeze off a shot. Again, I don't want him to know that I'm about to shoot, so I'll most likely squeeze it off real gently so he doesn't see any kind of movement. Okay, at that point, I'm comfortable making that shot. However, do you think I can make it at 25? I don't think so. I mean, think about it, that's a long shot at 15 yards. It needs to be a guy that can make that shot pretty effectively and pretty sure of himself, like that guy right there. Hey everybody, if you don't know, this is Michel, IPSC World Champ. Max, we're doing a situation over here where we're trying to shoot this target. We're simulating a hostage type situation. Everybody's seen on TV, Hollywood type scenarios, where a guy's got a gun trained on a hostage and a cop is standing right in front of him, okay? We're trying to show that this shot can be made by the average person if he's somewhat handy. Obviously, nerves are not exactly coming into play right now. We want to see if this shot can be made. We've done it at 7 and 15 yards. We'd like to see if it can be done at 25 yards. What do you think?
That's 25 yards on a 4-inch plate. That's a tough shot.
With a handgun.
With a handgun, nonetheless, but it can be done.
Well, we're going to put this one up, and we're going to let you shoot that one. How about that?
All right, sounds good. Let's give it a try.
Now, I had the pleasure of making that 7-yard and 15-yard shot with Max's very own 6-hour 1911 Max. Beautiful 45 caliber gun, easy to shoot. Plus, this thing is zeroed in at 15 yards, as most production guns are. Max is going to take this shot at 25 yards and then 50 yards with his Sig Sauer P320. This is a production model gun that Max shoots on a regular basis and he's very familiar with. Go. Nice shot. Max, what do you think about a 50-yard shot?
Well, we can give it a try. Again, a 4-inch circle at 25 yards isn't that big of a deal if you're thinking about it, but in a stressful situation, it only increases difficulty. So 50 is going to be even a lot more difficult.
But with a steady heart rate, this probably even seems like an easy shot. I can't imagine with nerves flowing and blood pumping through your veins how much tougher this shot's going to be.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, let's face it, we're at 25 yards and you're pinging it. I don't think it would be cool for us not to go to 50 and see if you can hit it from there.
Let's give it a try.
All right. As you can see, there's a considerable drop just from 25 yards out to 50 yards when you're shooting a 147 grain 9mm bullet. Just in terms of velocity, that same 9mm bullet was traveling at about 965 feet per second when Max shot it from 25 yards. It's going to be going as slow as 944 feet per second when he shoots this thing from 50 yards. These are good things to know if you're making a real life shot like this. And Max didn't have the luxury of viewing all this data prior to the 50-yard shot. .50-yard shot on a 4-inch plate. All right, Max, this is a little bit more of a challenge, 50 yards. I mean, let's face it, this is not the easiest shot to make at 25 yards, and you made this at 50 yards eventually. What do you think? I mean, would you take this shot under normal circumstances?
I wouldn't under normal circumstances with a pistol. I mean, you're talking about 25 yards. I was absolutely comfortable. I doubled that distance, and that red target got a lot smaller. Not only that, you know, from a technical standpoint, I mean, pistol's maximum effective range is 50 yards, according to the book. However, you put that pistol in someone's hand at 50 yards, that's a tough shot.
Right.
And if there's actual, depending on what round you're shooting, the velocity of your round, the weight of your projectile, it can change the impact of that distance of what you might be going to. So not only do you have to have the know-how to actually make the shot count, but the data behind it, the projectile being a 147 grain bullet that I'm shooting here today at 25 yards, hit pretty much point of aim, point of impact. However, at 50 yards, that 147 grain bullet traveling under 1,000 feet per second is now going to be dropping at that distance. So you have to have knowledge really in both ways, being able to effectively activate the trigger, but more importantly, where's the bullet going to go, even if you do it properly.
Right, we even have a little bit of a wind out here. We were talking earlier that most guns, pistols anyway, handguns out the box, they're zeroed in at 15 yards. So I mean, we're shooting well beyond what that pistol was zeroed in at anyway. So if you don't have the luxury of taking a practice shot, this thing right here is pretty much a guess.
Correct, yeah, but you can see where my practice shot went.
Right. They either have the gun at the person's head.
Hey, I'm Michel, and I'm on Gun District. Why aren't you?